Shalom, brothers and sisters. My name is Elder Zaaqan, and I want to first say the Wadi Yahweh, Wadi Yahweh Shah, for giving me the time and the breath in me to be able to depart the word and teach you guys once again. I'm going to jump right into it. One thing that I want to clear up, you have to get understanding. That's one thing that we notice, that the pastors do not give our people in these churches. That's one thing that the leaders of the society don't give our people when it comes to the Bible and when it comes to anything that's associated with truth and righteousness. The pastors do not give our people understanding. That's very important. So what I am going to do today, this is the question I am going to ask. How does race mixing intertwine, and does it equate to what the Heavenly Father put forth? Can you integrate yourself, or can you marry outside of your race? Is it important? How does the Heavenly Father feel about it? Is there different standards on race mixing according to the Bible? I'm going to give you the understanding today if you have time. Now first I'm going to jump right into the book of Marriges, the 25th chapter and the 31st verse, and this is what Christ said. I'm going to break it on down to you real slowly but surely. This is Marriges 25 and 31. When the Son of Man shall come in his glory, meaning at the end of time when Christ returns in this earth, and all the holy angels with him. Christ haven't came back in the earth yet, because I don't see any holy angels. And when he does come back, it's going to be complete chaos on this earth and destruction and a lot of blood and a lot of killing. A lot of times you have people in these different religions, they always say these different denominations of black cults, such as the Muslims or 5% or any kind of things like David Koresh, or a lot of these white guys, they claim that they are Christ. And they'll be in the middle of a desert someplace, sitting down and fasting for about 50 days, getting skinny and drawed up. But this is what Christ said is going to happen when he comes back. When the Son of Man shall come in his glory, and all the holy angels with him. It's going to be a lot of angels with Christ when he comes back on this earth for the second time. It says, then shall he sit upon the throne of his glory, and before him shall be gathered all nations. Now, it's going to be gathered all nations. All the nations are going to be gathered before Christ when he come back into this earth to be judged. It says, and he shall separate them one from another, as a shepherd divideth his sheep from his goats. So Christ said he's going to separate the people. One from another, a sheep from a goat. And the reason why he used that parable of sheep and a goat is because normally when a farmer farms, or you look and if you ever have a chance to visit a farm, or you ever pass by a farm, you notice that it's always sheeps in the same pasture as the goats. And what he said here, he said he's going to separate them one from another. Because basically a sheep and a goat, basically they're not a threat to one another. They both just clean up and like to eat, and they're just lazy. That's about it. In the same way, we're living here in America we're sheep, the Israelites, and we're living amongst the goats, talking about the other nations. So he said he's going to separate the sheep from the goats, because anytime that the Heavenly Father make mention of sheep in the Bible, he's always talking about the sheep Israel. He's talking about us as a nation of people, as his lost sheep. Hear my people, sheep of Israel. The lost sheep of Israel. Because why? Because a sheep is very adhesive, a sheep is gullible, a sheep is very submissive, a sheep is very apprehensive, a sheep is very vulnerable, and that's how our people are. That's the reason why the Most High calls us lost sheep, because we believe anything, we're very vulnerable. So he said, he shall separate them one from another, as a shepherd divideth his sheep from his goats. And he said, and he shall set the sheep on his right hand, and he shall set the goats on his left. When he said he's going to come back to judge the nations, you got to listen up to that real good. When he said all nations are going to be before him, he said he's going to put the sheep on his right hand. Who does the Heavenly Father refer to as sheep in the Bible? The nation of Israel. He said he's going to put the goats on his left hand, meaning the other nations. If they're before him, if he said he's going to separate the sheep and the goats, and if he got all nations before him, that means he's going to put the nation of Israel on his right hand, and he's going to put the other nations on his left, like he says here. And he says, and he shall set the sheep on his right hand, but the goats on the left. Then shall the king say unto them on his right hand, talking about the nation of Israel. Now let's get some understanding on this right here. I'm going to go to the book of Marriges. I'm going to go to the book of Marriges, the 10th chapter. Okay? And I'm going to show you, okay, who the sheep is that he's talking about. We're going to get some clarification on this right here. This is Matthew 10:5-6. These 12 Jesus sent forth and commanded them, talking about his 12 disciples, and commanded them, saying, go not into the way of the Gentiles. When you look up the word Gentiles in the Bible dictionary, it means other nations other than the nation of Israel. It says, go not into the way of the Gentiles, and any city of the Samaritans enter ye not. It says, but go rather to the lost sheep. There's that word, sheep. Go rather to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. It says, and as ye go, preach saying, the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Okay? Now, when he said, don't go rather to the Gentiles or the Samaritans preaching this word, because when you read the book of Romans, the 11th chapter, it tells you that the Gentiles, meaning the other nations, through our fall into slavery and captivity, the other Gentiles have gotten rich. Now I'm going to explain that to you also. Okay, we're going to stick to one thing at a time. So, if we just establish that Christ called us sheep, and the Heavenly Father all through the scriptures calls us sheep, okay, let's finish reading Matthew, the 25th chapter. We got to get some understanding on this. It says, and he shall set the sheep on his right hand, but the goats on the left, talking about the other nations. Then shall the king, listen up real good, then shall the king say unto them on his right hand, talking about the sheep, which he just said he's going to set on his right hand, come ye, blessed of my Father. Okay, talking about Yahweh, the Heavenly Father, the Supreme Being. Okay, God. It says, inherit the kingdom. Now, where do you read where it says the kingdom is for everybody? It says, I'm going to read it again. Then shall the king say unto them on his right hand, let's go back. It says, and let's go back to the 32nd verse. It says, and before him shall be gathered all nations. All nations are going to be before Christ when he come back. Don't worry about it, but something's going to happen. Something that your pastor don't explain to you. It says, and before him shall be gathered all nations, and he shall separate them. When he come back, he's going to separate the nations. It says, one from another. It says, as a shepherd divideth his sheep from his goats. Okay? He's calling a certain people sheep, and he's calling a certain people goats. He's going to explain. Let's get the understanding. He shall set the sheep on his right hand, okay, talking about the nation of Israel, but the goats on his left. It's for a reason. It says, then shall the king say unto them, talking about the nations, it says, then shall the king say unto them on his right hand, talking about the sheep, talking about the nation of Israel, come ye. I mean, come here. Okay, blessed of my Father, meaning we're the blessed people on this earth. I'm going to get into that as well, too. It says, inherit the kingdom, okay, prepared for you from the foundation of the world. Okay, meaning from the beginning of the world. Now, if Christ came for everybody, and this is something that you will never, ever, ever hear from your pastor break this down. Mind you, Christians, we're in the New Testament. A lot of you Christians always say, but that was the Old Testament. That was the Old Testament. A lot of you get tricked out on that, okay? This came right out of Christ's own mouth. When I read the book of Matthew, the 10th chapter, the 5th and 6th verse, Christ said, go not into the way of the Gentiles, but go rather to the lost sheep of the house of Israel, okay? All through the Bible, the Heavenly Father always calls us sheep. He don't call no other nation on this planet his sheep. Lost sheep, hear my sheep. My sheep hear my voice. Always referring that the word sheep is equated to the nation of Israel. So Christ said, listen, then shall the king say unto them on his right hand, come ye of my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the earth. Now the kingdom, okay, is going to be right here on the earth. It's going to be a transition. What you got to understand is this. Let me explain something to you, okay? It's going to be a transitional change of world governments, okay, soon to come. The wicked, okay, which is running this whole earth right now, they're going to be voted out, okay, by the Most High and Christ and by the angels, by thermonuclear destruction and by fire and brimstone. Okay, these nations are going to get the hell up out of here, man. Okay, they're going to get the hell up out of here. They're going to be voted out. The person that's ruling this earth today is the so-called Europeans, the Romans and the Greek children babies, okay, and along with the British people that's running this earth today, They are nothing but offsprings, and they're nothing but a continuation of the Roman Empire, okay, that was left for them.